Hi, it's Heather. I am back with another process video. I am working on another snowy layout. I am starting out by adding some gesso to some chipboard from Leaky Shed. It's some pieces I bought a while back, and I am using my gelatos. I wanted to color the large one sort of an ombre pink shades, and the reason why I chose my gelatos is because sprays, they tend to puddle up and they get a lot lighter, although it took me quite a bit of time of adding more color and drying it and adding more color. Just if anybody knows, using gelatos on chipboard, especially with gesso, it blends very nicely, but it's hard to get vibrant color, and you really need to add gesso because otherwise the color just doesn't show much at all. So the color scheme is based on the Snow and Cocoa collection that I am still working with, trying to use up, and I spent quite a bit of time working on these chipboard pieces, although the large one is a main element on my page, so I wanted it to look a certain way. But with gelatos, I mean, we try and color on chipboard like that and little chunks come off, so you see me keep trying to use my brush to clean it out a little bit and smooth it out. But in the end, I got it to the way that I wanted it, and I end up embossing it with sparkly, I think it's clear, but it has some sparkle to it. So I embossed all of these pieces, which took a little bit of time, but I thought that it was really necessary to give it a finished look, and I always like the way it looks, chipboard being embossed, really anything being embossed. It gives it a raised effect. That makes sense. And it looks almost like you've bought the embellishment when it's been embossed. That's kind of how I see it. So again, I'm still adding some more color. I pulled out shimmers just to add a little bit of pink to the bottom of it to get more of a contrast between the top and the bottom, and I ended up kind of wiping some of it away. That was also a shimmers, and I really love that, but it wasn't quite the pink that I was looking for, so I kind of ended up dabbing quite a bit of that away, but I'm happy with the way that it turned out. So now that's all been done. I did add some color shine, some Honey Swap Gold color shine, which is my absolute favorite. I know I'm not alone in that. There's a lot of people who love that, and I actually have 2 bottles, and I am afraid for the day that is no longer available. I know I've heard others say that, and it was on sale several months back at Michael's, and I bought another bottle, even though that I had a fairly new bottle, because isn't that sad? The trials and tribulations of a crafter, because if she ever stops selling it, I don't know what I would do. Now, Shimmers does have a pot called, I think it's 40, I don't know what it's called, something 49er. I'll have to check on it, but it is a really wonderful shade of gold, and I love it, but it just doesn't have the same sparkle as the color shine. So anyway, get back to the layout. So I slowed this down a little bit just because I wanted you to see it. Really, the video doesn't do it justice. It's so sparkly and shiny, and I was really pleased with the way that it turned out. So you can see the color shine on that. And then after it being embossed, I loved it. So I was just showing you the piece of wood grain. That's actually from Kaiser Craft. I got a whole pack of like wood grain type papers, and I applied some white gesso mainly to the center of it, even though I add quite a bit of mixed media in the top right and the bottom left, but that's originally where I thought I was going to add the most. And I backed it with another piece of cardstock that I don't think that I'll ever use. So just to make it a little bit sturdy because I did plan to add some watercolor and mixed media to it. So my thought was I was going to use that snowflake chipboard piece border, and just layer the pictures and the ephemera that I have there in it, just in a strip across the page. And I do add some little bits and pieces in that middle area, and then I add that embellishment cluster down on the bottom right, and I think I add a couple snowflakes and things in the upper left as well. I really wasn't quite sure if I was going to like that little I guess transparency. It's the little figure throwing this snowball. That most of all this came from Snow and Cocoa. I do pull out a couple of other pieces from a Pretty Little Studio collection, like that little hat and the little mug, and obviously the chipboard wasn't part of that, but I figured this was as good a layout as any to add that little boy, I guess it's a girl, I don't know, throwing this snowball. And because it's transparent, I layer that sled behind it. That is also from Pretty Little Studio, but you can see through it, and I kind of like the effect. I really wanted to incorporate that sled. And since this is a picture of my daughter and her friend playing in the snow, they're not actually on sleds, but you know, they were. I know they were. That's part of the story, but even though that's not what's actually in the photo. That flare right there that says winter on it, that is from an Etsy shop called Cuts to Love. Love, love, love her flare. She just, the designs are just, they're beautiful. I'm a huge fan. So I am just moving these little pieces around. I know some of the words and parts and pieces, some of them are covered up by the layering process, I guess, but I really just wanted to get a big cluster of all winter snow things related, and I still feel like most of it is visible and you get the gist of what's there. That other flare that you see on the right, that is from Two Peas. Does everybody remember Two Peas? Two Peas in a Pod. I loved that shop. I was so sad when they decided to close that, and I don't know what the reason was, but I did take advantage of the huge sales that they had in their last couple of months, and I think I bought probably 20 pieces of flare, which at that time were like 50 cents a piece because they were closing their shop. It really was so sad. And that was probably the start of my online shopping. And then it grew to, scrapbook.com and Simon Says Stamp. And yeah, I won't name all of them because my husband is watching these videos and he knows that I purchase things online, but, I don't need to give it all away. So anyway, I decided to add a couple of strips of pattern paper to the top and bottom just to balance the layout. Those are actually, I think, just branding strips, which I wish more companies would, I guess they need to have their name somewhere, but I really wish that the branding strips were more than just halfway, because I'd like to use them more. I know I've heard others say this as well. And the front and the back of the branding strips, they always overlap, so you can't really use both sides. You have to pick, and I know that's such a small trivial thing, but these are the things that we think of, right, when we're cutting our papers and we want to use every little last scrap. And I do. I keep everything. But for reasons like this, just adding a little bit of paper and scraps to the top and bottom branding strips really do come in handy. They are the most appropriate to use, so don't ever throw those away. It is kind of difficult to store those kind of things. I think I've gone through many different systems on how to store my scraps, so if anybody has any suggestions, I would love to hear them. So anyway, back to the layout. I am committing and gluing things down at this moment. I was trying to get that center section at the right spot, and I actually end up gluing it a little bit higher than I had anticipated before, but it works out. So I am adding some shimmers. That is Pretty in Pink, I believe. Love that pink. And I don't add a lot, although I guess it kind of seems like a lot. But once you start adding your embellishments and your photos, you know, it really doesn't show all that well. I wanted some of it to be peeking from behind, and I do love Shimmer's products so much because the sparkle and shine is just, it's beautiful. And there is another bottle of Heidi Swapp Color Shine, because that is a second favorite. I don't even know if I could call it a second favorite. Between Shimmers and Heidi Swapp's Color Shine, I don't know that I would be able to pick a favorite because I love them both so much. Shimmers has a little bit of an advantage because there's so many different colors, but I love them both. And I usually pick based on color most of the time. I don't always have the right color that I need in Color Shine, but I don't necessarily pick one or the other for anything other than just because the color fits or matches. So I am using a Prima stencil and I'm sure that it is a Prima paste, but I do not recall what they call it, something else. Light paste, maybe. Anyway, I just wanted to add a little bit of texture in 3 spots, I think, maybe 4 spots, and some of it does get covered up by the embellishments and once I put all the photos and everything back down, but I like the little bit of added dimension and texture that it gives. So now that that is all dry, I added some splatters with my gold Color Shine, because you can never have too much gold Color Shine. And I am using that Snowflakes wood. Is it wood or is it chipboard? I can't tell you that right now. I think it's chipboard. That is also from Snow and Cocoa, and I really wanted to use it. It was so glittery too. I'm a huge fan of glitter, but I am not a big fan of glitter that comes off of embellishments. I know that's kind of silly to hear. I don't like getting the glitter everywhere, and I know that's terrible. I do like getting messy and painting and adding glitter to stuff, but I like it to be on it and then not come off. But anyway, I wanted to use that large piece, Snowflakes chipboard word, and I do plan to layer it on top of that snowflake chipboard, and that is going to be part of my title. At this point, I really hadn't decided what my title was going to be. I just knew that I wanted to try and incorporate that, and I do get back to that in a little bit. I added a little washi strip up in the top left. It's about 4 inches long, and it's hard to tell from the photo, but it has these little bear faces on it, and that is from Pretty Little Studio, and they're so cute. I think I'm actually almost done with the page of all those little washi strips, and I know I'll get more because I love them, and I love washi tape just like everybody else, and I've got a whole bin of it. But sometimes, don't you wish you could actually get through a whole roll? I don't know why that is. I mean, nobody wants to be out of supplies, but there is this sense of accomplishment when you finish a roll of washi tape. Am I the only one who thinks that? I don't know. I don't think I am. Who knows? Maybe. So I've glued the chipboard down, snowflake chipboard. You can see all the bottles of things that were holding it down. I mean, it was a very large piece. I actually used some heavy matte gel from, I don't recall. That's terrible. You can get it at Michael's, but I use that because it is super strong, and even though my glue that I use, the Scotch quick dry glue, that's what I use most often in my fine line bottle, and it does dry so quickly, and I love it, but I think I needed something a little bit heavier. So I decided my title would be Sweet Little Snowflakes. And I got to tell you, I went through so many packs of letter stickers before I could find some that had all the letters that I needed. I was short on E's, I was short on S's, I was short on I's, and every time I started to pull them out, I realized, gosh darn it, I don't have enough letters. I don't know, maybe this is a video of the trials and tribulations that we go through. I know I'm not the only one that has these kind of problems, right? But it's not a kidney. It's just stickers, but it can be frustrating. But I do manage to find some that would complete my title, thankfully. And I've attached it down with just a scrap piece of pattern paper because I needed something to be layered on. I am adding some heart stickers from Freckle Fawn. I love those. They're like little puffy sticker hearts. And I am adding some sequins from Pretty Pink Posh. I love them, and I'm almost out of them. They are cupped, but the package had all these different sizes in them, which is why I love them, because I love the variation. So here are the close-ups. I really hope that you liked this layout. I love the way that it turned out. I hope that maybe you found some inspiration in anything that I've done. I appreciate you watching, and if you want to hit like and subscribe, I will be back soon with more videos. I really appreciate your support. Thanks again. Have a great day.